All right, so today we're going to cover the first half of the linear relations unit. So in linear relations, you basically had two big ideas you needed to know. First, basics of algebra, solving equations. You had to be able to solve equations. That was the first half of the unit. The second half of the unit was with tables and graphing. We won't do that in this video. Here I'm just going to show you how to solve one of each type of what you're expected to for grade 8. So first, we'll start with something simple. And I want you to keep two things in mind. Whenever we do things in algebra, it's built off two golden rules. The first, whatever we do to the left-hand side, we have to do to the right-hand side. And the second, the reason we're doing things to the left and the right, well, we want to isolate the variable. Again, isolate means get on its own. So we want to have x on its own on one side of an equation. We basically want to find what x is, and to do that we need to get x on its own. Again, variables are the letters, and numbers you're very well used to. So to get x on its own, I need to get rid of the plus 8. The plus 8 is in the way. So what I'm going to do here is, I can do whatever I want. I can add to each side, I can multiply to each side, I can divide to each side. In this case, I'm going to subtract 8 from each side. So I'm going to go x plus 8 minus 8. And then on the other side, I have to subtract 8 there as well, because I did it to the left, I got to do it to the right. So what happens is, these cancel out. Plus 8 and minus 8 is just 0. So on the left-hand side, I've now isolated the variable. It's on its own. That's what I wanted. On the right-hand side, 14 minus 8 is just 6. Okay? You can then verify. So our solution is, the unknown variable is 6. What that means is, x is 6. If you put that back in, 6 plus 8 equals 14. It works. You can check. The left-hand side of the equation is 14. The right-hand side, 14. So it works. Let's go on to another one that's a little bit more difficult. The next type that you needed to do had what's known as a coefficient. And all that means is, instead of having one x, you've got two of them. Okay? Doesn't make it much harder. It gives us an extra step. We're going to have to do one more step here. So we start off with the same thing we did on the last question. We're going to subtract 4 from each side. We're getting rid of the number beside the x. Now what that does is a plus 4 and a minus 4 is just 0. So on the left-hand side, I've now got 2x. I've got the variable on its own. On the right-hand side, 10 minus 4 is just 6. Now what's harder, I suppose, about these questions is it's 2x, not just 1x. The number beside it that I said is a coefficient. That's the fancy math word for it. It just means that there's two x's. There's not one, there's two. So if we know that 2 x's is 6, well then 1x is 3. Now how do we show that? Well, we divide both sides by 2 to get the variable on its own. So from this step, I'm just going to write it out again. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Why? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So if you go 2x divided by 2, you get 1x. And then on the other side, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our solution here is x equals 3. Okay? Next, we did questions involving fractions. Not much harder, only one extra step. Let's look at one like this. Okay, so now you've got a variable divided by 4 plus 2 equals 6. Again, we start with the same thing. Let's try and get this thing called a term. Let's get this thing on its own. Let's get rid of the plus 2. How do you get rid of a plus 2? You subtract 2. So I'm going to, first step, I need to subtract 2 from both sides. Remember, whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. A plus 2 and a minus 2 cancel out to just 0. So you get n over 4 is equal to 6 minus 2 is just 4. Now this is the new step. This is what we spent a lesson on. How do you get the variable on its own? Well, this says n divided by 4 equals 4. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to get rid of this divide by 4. And how do I get rid of a divide by 4? Well, I do the opposite of dividing. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I multiply both sides by 4, it's going to get rid of this down below. So I'm going to go n divided by 4 times 4. Should do that in blue. To get rid of the 4 on the bottom. Again, I did that to the left, I have to do that to the right. So on the right hand side, I'm going to have a times 4. Now, the divide by 4 and the multiply by 4 cancel out. I'm left with n on the left. On the right, 4 times 4 is 16. So the unknown number, n, the variable, is 16. Okay, the last type is nothing new. It's the same as the other ones, it's just, well, I suppose it's new. I'm going to show you one with the variable in 2 places. And these are probably the hardest. So if you have something like this, people get confused because they see a lot of things and they go, what? There's a lot of numbers there, I don't know what to do. So to answer this in one step would be very difficult, but to break it down piece by piece is pretty easy. We're going to start with the same step we've been doing on all of these. I'm going to get rid of this number beside the x here, so I'm going to add 4 to each side. A plus 4 will get rid of this minus 4. So I'll have negative 2x minus 4 plus 4 is equal to x plus 8 plus 4, to do to the right hand side as well. So now it'll finally simplify. A plus 4 and a minus 4 cancels out, so I get negative 2x is equal to x. And then I can group the 8 and the 4. You can put them together. It's called like terms. An 8 and a 4 together is 12. Okay? Now we're almost done. The problem is you've got the variable in 2 places. You do not want that. You want the variable in 1 place. So we either need to get rid of this one or get rid of this one. Either way you will get the right answer if you do it correctly. But I happen to know that the easier way is to just subtract 1x from each side. If I subtract a 1x on the right hand side, it's going to cancel that out. And on the left hand side, well, you're going to have negative 3x. And I'll just show you. So let's subtract 1x from each side. Something that you might be a little bit confused here if you didn't learn this during the unit. The order I write the terms in doesn't matter. As long as it's adding. Subtracting, it does kind of matter because the subtract symbol goes to the number to the right. But if you're wondering, the plus 12, I kind of moved it over a bit. It's fine. It doesn't change the expression. Another question I sometimes get is, what happens if you put this on the left and this on the right? Does that change the equation? The answer is no, it doesn't. From here, though, what is nice about this, 1x minus 1x is just 0. And then on this side, minus 2x minus x is minus 3x. So I've got minus 3x. These cancel out, 12. Now from here, now it's a normal question that we did before. From here, you're going to have to divide both sides by negative 3. You could divide by just positive 3, but you end up causing yourself an extra step because you don't want negative x, you want positive x on its own. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1, so you get 1x on the left. The negative 3's cancel out. Well, they don't cancel out. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1, so you're left with 1x. And then on the right-hand side, 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And there we go. Okay, so we've quickly gone through one of every type of equation you're expected to solve in grade 8. That is half of the linear relations unit. And if you can do that well, you'll score well in the unit test because it's also the majority of the marks.